140.6.
There's nothing like it.
Crazy, it's crazy.
On its own, it is a number like any other.
Our motto is, all things are possible.
But for 10 years, on the last Sunday of the 6th month,
It's a lot like life, you know? There's good times and bad times throughout the day.
the depth of its sum is defined by its mind-numbing parts. 2.4 miles in open water. 112 more behind these bars. And finally, a marathon to make it complete.
Who does this kind of thing?
Whole different breed of people.
All told, it is the ultimate test of mental and physical limits,
If you're not nervous, I don't know what you're doing.
where dedication earns its definition
I'm not afraid of it.
and the human spirit challenges its own restraints.
I still cry at the start of every single race.
These are the stories of the journey to the start and the preparation it takes to make it to the finish. The inspiration and motivations to conquer the course reserved for those called Ironman. This is the quest for Coeur d'Alene. At 7 a.m. Sunday, more than 2,500 athletes will line the public beach in the center of the city. This is the beginning of a day-long journey that canvasses the landscape throughout Coeur d'Alene.
How do I describe the swim start on race day?
It could be called mass chaos,
It's brutal.
or it could be called one of the most spectacular sights you've seen in sports.
I think people have two different reactions.
It's exciting and scary.
It's almost like the fight or flight.
It's inspirational, it's kind of scary. It's really scary sometimes, especially when you're in the water.
They either panic and shut down, or you get really aggressive.
You get swam over, you get kicked, there's fear.
Because you know you're going to get beat up.
You have people literally swimming over you, and for me, it's usually these big, huge men that could care less if you're gonna drown or not, and for me, I don't really like that.
The best way to describe a swim is this: envision yourself as a fish swimming up the fish locks.
It's like being thrown in a blender with 2,000 other people.
There's arms, there's legs, there's, there's everything coming at
You
you.
get kicked and scratched and
They'll come right down on your back or your head.
You want to kind of chase them down, and I want to get that guy back.
It's a feeling, and it's just, you go in going, wow, I'm in, it's done, I started, and it's no stop now.
For the fastest of the pros, the end will be in sight sometime in the early afternoon. But for many of those in the field, with the medal to finish, daybreak and nightfall will both be part of the process. Every competitor is out to beat the requirements each must meet to make it through the day. 2 hours, 20 minutes is the cutoff for the swim. 8 hours later is the latest for the bikes. And the ultimate goal must come by midnight. A grueling day-long test of will and power, but just a fraction of the time it truly takes to compete.
I had no idea what I was getting myself into as far as training. Your body just aches and you're constantly tired.
It just takes up a whole, literally half chunk of your day, and you just have to plan and be really committed to it.
Once I signed up for Ironman Coeur d'Alene, I think your motivation just kind of skyrockets. Since January, I've covered a little over 5,000 miles of swimming, biking, and running.
It's a full-time job, and I tell my husband sometimes when I'm taking off, I'll say, see you after work, because it is like a job.
So I get up at 3 o'clock, be out to the door to run at 4 o'clock. We run at least 3 days a week, 2 during the week, and then our long runs on the weekends. I've got 2 kids. The oldest is 13 and the youngest is 8. They go to a private school, so I do all the shuttling. Usually I drop kids off at 8, pick them up and go back to work and work till 4. I get off of work, come home, start dinner, throw kids to homework, and I might be spinning while they're doing homework.
I'm a really good multitasker. I think anybody would say that for sure. And just when I feel like I've figured out my girls' schedule and how to get my workouts in that, don't affect my girls, something goes wrong and they change and I have to modify it. Also, I really include them in my workouts. sometimes they want to do the run with me, and so we just do it at a slower pace.
It's always good when you could get some training in when you have family with you, just because you spend so much time away from them. People will talk about the financial part of Ironman, the time away from work, but the hardest thing is time away from my son.
You have to be willing to sacrifice your individual time. And if you're family time to a point.
It is astounding the sacrifice every athlete makes to prepare for the daunting task of tackling this course. And for every hour each spends strengthening the chances of finding the finish on race day,
the 5 days a week that it takes to keep these guys in shape, the same way Jonathan has to stay in shape, they do too.
there is often another side to the story, logging equal time to help make it happen.
Me personally, it's been a big challenge. I've had to find who I am and realize that I am much stronger than I thought I was, and that I have to be the mom and the chauffeur and the caregiver, and sometimes I feel like the daycare lady, and it's been overwhelming. I've had a lot of overwhelming days where I just am like, if I make it to the end of today, this will be amazing. But what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and I hugely believe that right now.
Jen Johnson is the driving force behind her husband Jonathan's dream to complete Coeur d'Alene. It was a year ago when the idea first hatched.
A little love, Coeur d'Alene, there you go.
We had just volunteered at Ironman. My wife had no clue what Ironman was until we did that. When she was watching people at the marathon turnaround, she said, you know, so they run around here up a block and finish? And I said, no, babe, this is the halfway point. And right then is when she got it. And she looked at me, she says, you've got to do
this. If anybody I've ever known in my life could handle this and be capable of doing it beginning to end, and feeling what it feels like to go across the finish line, it would be him.
What followed was a family meeting to make sure each of the children was aware of what was coming. A once inseparable group would give up quality time together for the sole goal of seeing Dad meet his mission.
We didn't realize how wild the ride was going to be that day that we agreed, but we did.
Unemployed at the time, Jonathan's first obstacle was simply raising the funds for entry fees. It was also the first sign he could count on his kids to take the role of support system and run with it.
And I was within a few $100s, and my 12-year-old, well, he was 11-year-old then, came up with the other 200 and said, Dad, pay me back later.
With that, Jonathan's journey was officially underway. And ever since, the balance of training and time spent at home is a constant work in progress.
Ironically enough, our daughter was born February 2nd, which was day one. Her name's Journey. So it's kind of fitting that my journey really turned at that point, that not only do I have a new baby, but my workout intensity increased by double. For me to now take this on, where I'm out training, you know, in the morning before she gets up and after work until, you know, they're going to bed, you know, she feels like a single parent.
He is a father and a husband, completely committed to both roles. But lucky enough to have a house willing to help him add Ironman to his list.
I've had some really emotional days, and so has he.
There have been days when I'd come home and I would just cry, and I'd tell my wife, I can't do this. I can't go on. And she would remind me, why can't you? You know, why can't you do this? You need to learn to enjoy what you're doing.
He just has said over and over this last year, he just wants to hear them say, Jonathan Johnson, you are an Ironman. And I just do too. We all do.
I'm very proud of him. To actually see him doing something to accomplish a goal that he set, it's pretty inspirational.
Just that emotion and that feeling of seeing him cross that line, being there with him when he does, it'll make it all worth it. We're gonna drag these guys out of bed if they are in bed or wherever they're at and get a family picture because we did it together.
Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, framed by its world-famous lake, is home to more than 44,000 residents and countless community events. None, though, captivates the city quite like Ironman.
We're not a huge city in the country, but to be able to host an event this size, it's incredible.
We want to be part of the community and invest in the community, and that's a pretty important aspect to us.
But it's a huge economic impact. It means a lot of money to the area.
I do have my own coffee shop here in Coeur d'Alene.
Thanks, we'll see you later, Matt. Have a good one.
The amount of people, the amount of business and support that it brings to Coeur d'Alene, it just helps us grow as a community.
Yep, I can do that.
It's changed the whole, sort of the fiber of the community. If you take a look around town, you'll see a lot more people biking to work. You'll see a lot more influence as far as the Croc Center and how much of a population it's got.
The numbers of people that have gotten involved in triathlon in the Spokane, Coeur d'Alene, I mean, just this whole area have just skyrocketed since Ironman came into town. The clubs are more active than ever. Training opportunities are more active than ever. It benefits bike shops. You know, everyone kind of benefits from having it around.
I know that many, many people have gotten involved in physical fitness because of Ironman.
It is a year-round endeavor to make a race day run.
I always say that World Triathlon Corporation, Ironman, is the brain.
Body marking.
Volunteers are the heart and soul. The athletes are the blood. I mean, you couldn't have a fine working machine such as a body working without a heart and soul.
Right. Follow her.
Just being there to support others through this, you're hooked. I mean, it's a great feeling.
Thousands of volunteers logging tens of thousands of hours.
Good job. Have a good ride.
Put this event on solid footing for a decade now. A symbiotic relationship between a town and the race it puts its heart into running. Motivation and inspiration. Two words that can carry as much weight as any for Ironman Coeur d'Alene.
My Ironman?
That's a really good question.
You know, everybody has a different story. Reasons why people do it individually. I mean, you'd have to just talk, you probably hear 2,000 different stories.
I did a whole lot back in the 80s and was not successful last year. Started out on the run. When I got back into town, I knew I couldn't make it to the next cutoff. I wanted to cry, but you know, you're in a bunch of people and you just kind of suck it up and try to deal with it as best you can, but it was definitely a feeling of failure.
For the athletes, they are concepts that create an intensity unique to the event that consumes their lives.
This year, we're going to get the finish line. It's a big goal for me.
While emotion is a major factor for much of the field,
We hung out every day in college. We went on vacations together.
not all of it can be seen on its collective sleeve.
This is bracelets that they made. It says go big or go home.
For Jesse Stolbarger, his is constantly wrapped around his wrist.
It was definitely something that I knew I kind of needed to use as a motivational factor to get me out of bed, to get me through my long workouts, just to constantly remember that not to take life for granted.
It was less than 2 years ago this bracelet became a permanent fixture in Jesse's life. A gift at the funeral of his good friend Brandon Pence, bearing the slogan he carried with him until the accident that claimed his life. August 20, 2010, coincidentally Jesse's birthday, a fall from a truck forever changed a tight-knit group of guys.
He's probably one of the most positive people I've ever met. And he definitely just taught us all, you know, not to take life for granted.
And for that reason, Jesse has made it his mission to carry on the memory of his former college football teammate. What started with Brandon's brother-in-law dedicating to him an Ironman in Wisconsin. The hope now is each year someone new can find inspiration from that original message.
On the long runs, the long bike rides, you know, I often think of him. You know, there's times that I'll even, you know, people probably think I'm crazy, but there's times I'll have conversations with him when I'm on, you know, mile 19 of my run, or I'm on, you know, doing a 100-mile bike ride, you know, and it kind of pushes me through it.
It is a race with any number of motivations and inspirations, each unique to those consumed by the concept of carrying them start to finish.
It's just going to be an amazing day, and I know I'm not prepared for the emotions that I'm going to experience that day. I don't foresee anything that's going to stop me from finishing the race.
With its massive challenges and mind-bending distances, Ironman Coeur d'Alene is a course that can be as solitary as any in sports. It is also why so many seek out the support it takes to conquer what seems too difficult to do alone.
The sport of triathlon means more to me because of Team Blaze. I feel like they're family.
That feeling of encouragement beyond even just my family was really huge.
If I need to go and put in a 5-10 mile run, I'm going to have to lean on somebody from this team to do that with me.
For the past 8 years, there has been no better example of strength in numbers here
It's a mass start. You can do it. You've done it every year.
than that set by Team Blaze, a group truly emboldened by the spirit of its coach and co-founder, Scott Roy.
6:30.
He truly has been a blessing to many people. He has helped me personally in many areas. There goes the team, and he'll just hang with you and make sure you have the correct running strokes or you're holding your body right. You know, he's always there to help you and encourage you.
The driving force behind dozens of Coeur d'Alene finishers, Scott was one himself. Just last year, he inspired his community, completing the course less than 6 months after heart surgery.
It changed from how fast can I go to I want to be out there supporting everyone that I'm coaching. I want to inspire other people, and I just want to finish. And having that attitude, it really made the day. It's one of the definitely highlights of any race I've done.
It was a step toward his ultimate goal of one day competing in Kona.
Everyone that's done an Ironman will tell you that they were able to do it and stick with it because of the people that supported them in their life.
What no one knew then, it was also the final Ironman finish of his life.
You know, if you've done the work, you'll get to the finish line.
Just 2 days after this interview, the man whose heart had helped inspire so many suddenly was gone.
I spent that afternoon with Coach Scott. You know, I did the Century ride and I came back. He gave me a high five. I went on my run and that was the last I saw my coach. So that night I see the email that he passed and I was instantly just devastated.
What he left behind was a family, a team, and a message.
Scott dedicated his life to helping people enjoy life. Scott was an amazing man. He had an amazing life and truly enjoyed the journey. Now he is standing with God looking down on us today. He desperately wants all of us to be able to enjoy the journey.
The first time he told me that, I was like, what do you mean enjoy the journey? You know, this is miserable. It really took getting into doing Ironman that I realized I have to enjoy it or you won't make it.
It has been a tough couple of months for this group without its coach.
My first thing was, what am I going to do? You know, I've got a month until Ironman. I don't know what to do between now and then. I kind of regret that feeling, but that's what I felt like. All of a sudden, he's gone.
Together, though, they continue, with Scott still by their side.
So happy I had that time with him because he was such a special person. He just got it right, you know? He knew what was important.
It was so devastating, but at the same time, he would want his legacy to carry on. I can hear his words, enjoy the journey.
I really looked forward to coming across the finish line and having my friend and my coach standing there giving me a high five. And you know, reality is I'm not going to get that. But in the big scheme of things, you know, when I get done with my race, which would be the human race, he's going to be there and he's going to give me the high five and he's going to be at the finish line.
They are no small signs. The big day is here.
And this race touches me on so many levels, it's hard to describe.
A city shuts itself down so a course can come alive. Thousands of athletes will share these streets. The paradox of a journey so solitary, yet no one finds the finish alone.
I've played it in my head a million times, what I'm gonna do when I cross that line. And it's gonna feel that good. So.
It's gonna be euphoric, in a word. I'll throw my arms up and paint a smile on my face as big as all outdoors. And
I'm probably gonna cry like a baby. After a year of training, just to get to that point of just to do it, crossing that finish line, it's gonna be the best feeling.
You push, you sweat, then you get done and you say, I did it.
And you just see their faces lit up from accomplishment of an entire day. It brings tears to the eyes sometimes.
For many, it was a year ago this weekend the commitment was made to complete a quest. Each has a unique definition of why it means so much.
It's just inspiring. I don't know, you just watch these people putting their bodies through 17 hours of pushing it to the limit. It's pretty neat to watch.
Separately, they are fathers and mothers, husbands and wives, co-workers and community members. Together, they share a singular goal: conquer the course and call themselves Ironman.
You're just so inspired by watching these athletes perform. It just kind of instills you to want to do the same.
140.6. On its own, a number like any other. But here, the depth of its sum can only be calculated by the quest it takes to complete its parts.
I'm just ready for it. I just want to do it.